everyone have a great spring break. Did you enjoy yourself? Little relaxation time, little rest time. Anything fun? Hopefully, a little fun in there. Yeah, yeah, that's cool. I didn't do any traveling, but I took my little grandson bowling for the first time. He was very excited about that. You know, it's really funny because the lightest ball they have is like a 6 pound ball, which it's like it really doesn't weigh anything. And he'll be two Saturday. He's almost two, so he could hold a 6 pound ball. But I think in his head he thinks he can't. Because I held the ball up there. I said, "Okay, here, you want to hold it?" And he put his arms around it like this. And so I started lowering my hand with the ball, and he would bend over as I was lowering my hands. And it's like, no, hold it here, hold it. No, and they would just been. It's like I know he picks up stuff that weighs that much. It's like it doesn't really weigh anything, but in his mind, I think as I lowered my hand, he lowered his body down, and it's like, no, no, no. So I can't get him to think about actually physically holding it yet, but he'll get there. So, but he had a great time. So, but no, I stayed up late. I'm a night owl if I'm allowed to be. I can't really do that during the school week because I got to get up too early. But I am a night owl, so I was up to like midnight every night. At least 11, usually midnight. I could stay up later, but I forced myself to make sure I was in bed by midnight every night and sleep in. I love sleeping in the morning. Although I did not sleep till noon. See, I'm like I got to have some day time. So, although I will admit, on Wednesday I got up, I woke up and looked at the clock, and it was 11:59, but it wasn't noon. So I did get out of bed before noon every day of the break, although that was really close. So yeah, I love sleeping in and staying up late. My weakness there. Anyway, well, let's see what we got this week. We're about to wrap up this unit. I think there's a test next week. I haven't looked. I don't think we have a project. I think we actually have just like a test with questions next week. But look at that. Let's see. Oh, I've got a 93.75. Well, I think it's because my last assignment hasn't been graded because I submitted it today. I just haven't graded it, so that's a 0. But we just have security careers. Okay, I'll confess. I turned in a picture just to be goofy. See, there's a picture of me making cinnamon rolls. I turned in a picture. I like to make some cinnamon rolls from time to time, so I just turned in that picture of me doing that. So just to be fun. So, but yeah, security careers and beyond. Moving on. 5.04. I do that all the time. It's the first time I've ever confessed that. So, careers in coding. If you've hung around this long, we're guessing you might be interested in pursuing coding as a career. If so, you may have some questions. That's a good sign. Curiosity is a great trait for a programmer to have, no matter what type of coding you pursue. We've answered some common sense questions about the process of finding a career in programming below. So check it out. What types of programming jobs are in demand? Well, this information is a little old, but I think it's still right on. Jobs in security, specifically cybersecurity, are in high demand. That's still actually true. In fact, according to the Bureau of Labor, jobs in this sector are projected to grow by 28% by this year. That's how I know this data is a little old because they're projecting by this year. No, cybersecurity is growing rapidly because hacking is just a constant, more and more of a problem. As more and more businesses become web based, the number of opportunities for hackers increases. So it means also the demand for security roles like security developers, cyber developers, security architects, security software engineer. And all those sound a lot the same to us. But the more you learn about cybersecurity, the more you learn those are actually different things. How do I find these jobs? Well, when searching for jobs, take note of the type of experience, education, or certifications that a position requires. You can increase your chances of landing a job by applying to positions that are a good match for your skills and using a variety of job searching methods. Here's some ideas. Browse job postings on online career websites. Visit the career webpage of a company you're interested in working for. Create a professional online profile on a career-oriented social media network. Attend networking events or workshops hosted by local professional organizations. What about I've applied for a job, now what? Well, if there's an employer interested in your application, they will contact you for an interview. During this process, they might ask you to explain how a program works, right? So they may show you this program and say, okay, tell me how this program works. Well, and there's a few purposes for this. First, it proves that you know the language, right? If you look at that, you can tell what it does. Next, it shows that you can problem solve because they've immediately given you a problem to solve right here. And it helps determine how well you can communicate ideas to others. That's an important part of the thing. A lot of people can code real well, but can't explain the code because they can't communicate too well. Let's see if you have what it takes. Can you explain why this program has this output? So if we look at this, define main, x equals 45, y equals 10, x equals x plus 2, print x, print y, main. Output 4710. So if you were asked to explain this, what does this program do? There's several ways you could do it, but I would approach it, and they have an answer down here. We'll compare that in a second. But I would do it like this. I'll say, well, we have our main function. We've created a variable called x, and we assign the value 45. We create a variable named y, and we assign the value 10. And then in this one, we're going to take x and reassign it with the previous value plus 2. So x is becoming 47 because we've added 2 to the previous value. They were printing the value of x and printing the value of y. And then right here, we're just calling the main function. So it runs. And there's the output 4710. Here's what they suggest. I don't know, as long as you explain it well, there's not a wrong answer. But it says the main function starts by declaring 2 integer variables, x and y, that are respectively assigned the initial values of 45 and 10. Next, the assignment statement x equals x plus 2 is evaluated. Starting on the right side of the equal sign, the current value of x, 45, is added with 2 and results in the value 47. The result of 47 is assigned to x, replacing its previous value. That's a pretty wordy way to say basically what I'd said. Finally, there's 2 print statements, one to print the value of x, another to print the y. Each will display the current values for x and y stored in memory, which are 47 and 10. Therefore, the output shows 47 and 10. Oh, so like white. All right. Some of that may phrase a little better than the way I said it, but I think as long as you can go through, and I would go to each line and just explain what each line does, just to show that you understand this programming language and that you know exactly what's going on. Page 2. Putting your best foot forward. So you're going to pursue a career in programming? Now's the time to figure out how to stand out from the rest of the pack. A good place to start is by identifying what type of coding you're interested in, because there's a million different programmer jobs. This will help you narrow down what kind of job you like to pursue, what skills you need, and the type of experience you should highlight on your resume. So this is a cool little quiz. I encourage you to take this. I'm going to answer these like how I would answer it, because this will be different for everyone. It's not like there's a wrong answer. This is kind of categorizing what type of programmer you are. So let's see. You discover a bug in a program that you're reviewing. What do you do? Do you eagerly scan your code for the problem so you can fix it? Well, let me find where the bug is. Do you go through the code line by line, fixing inconsistencies? Well, let me just start at the beginning and see, somewhere there's a problem. Maybe you suggest an entirely different solution to replace the bad code. Okay, well, this code don't work. I would do it this way. Or you just rewrite the section code to be more efficient. I'm probably one of those that would start at the beginning and go through it line by line just to make sure everything was consistent. Choose the one you want. You can do this on page 2. You and your friends are making pizza. Which task would they assign you? Are you the person that finds the gluten-free flour? Are you the person that cuts the pizza to make sure all the pieces are the same size? Do you place the toppings to make sure it's evenly distributed on it? Are you the person that stretches the dough and gets it the right size? I'm usually a cut the pizza kind of guy. That's what my wife assigns me for. Even if she does everything else, she always hands me the pizza cutter. It's the weekend. What are you most likely to be doing? Playing video games, organizing your room, posting photos on social media, or spending time on your favorite hobby, which may be organizing your room. And that's redundant. That's your no. That's not a hobby anyone really has. I'd probably be playing video games. That's what I was doing this weekend on my computer. How would your friends describe you? Helpful, logical, creative, or productive? My friends would, well, I'm productive sometimes. I'm helpful when I need to be. I'm creative. I'm probably logical would be the one most often. I'm the perfectionist. My wife would laugh at that, but you may be particular, but you always get the job done right. You love a good, okay, I do love a good spreadsheet. So maybe this is right on. I do love a good spreadsheet. Keep a well organized calendar. Well, I have a calendar. I don't know how well organized it is. And honestly, enjoy analyzing nearly everything. Okay, that I do. I do analyze a lot of stuff. I see newspaper articles about some statistics, and I'll analyze that. If this sounds like you may be interested in a career in data science or quality assurance. Yeah, I can do quality assurance. That's probably good for me. I don't know what other results it has, but try that and see if it gets you pegged on your personality there. Building your resume. Oh, there's some really good stuff here. Really good stuff here. I'll emphasize this point. I know they're talking about programming specifically, careers, but a lot of this really applies to anything you have an interest in, any kind of job that you think you want to pursue. There's some really good tips here. And one thing that they don't have on here is if there's a career you think you're going to be in, you should start googling up job openings now. I know you're in high school, you're not going to apply. Maybe you need to go to college for your job, maybe not, or whatever. But even if you're like, okay, I probably won't work in this for another 4 to 8 years, Google up the job openings now and look at what skills they're asking for. So you know what to work towards. Oh, to apply for this job, I need this skill, and they want me to know this. Or I need this certification, or I need this or this. Oh, I see that on a lot of jobs. Most of them want to see this and this and this. That's what I need to work for now. That's my goals. That's what I'm going to get on. And that's good for any career. You know, as soon as you get an idea what you might want to do, start looking at what the job applications are asking for. What do they prefer the applicant have? And that just gives you a goal, gives you a something to work towards to actually make it there. So, all right, let me get back up to the screen here. Here's a few tips. Got to figure out a way to communicate that to potential employers here. Prioritize. Be sure the information in your resume reflects the position you're applying for. In addition, always list your most important and relevant experience first. Like if you were trying to be a programmer, your first experience probably shouldn't be that you worked at McDonald's and made fries. That's not relevant to being a programmer. You may put that on there, but I'd put it farther down on the list. Put anything that's relevant first, even if it's volunteer work or something that you weren't actually a job, but you did. Use keywords. Oh, I love this one. Use the same words that appear in the job descriptions. What words do they use? That's words you want on your resume. Because a lot of times, depending on the job you're applying for, they may get hundreds or thousands of applicants, especially if it's something online. And so they may use AI or some other system to sort through the resume. It's like, I'm not going to read all 300 applications. I need some way to break it down for it. So they may use AI to read them and just give me the ones that have the experience I'm looking for. So it's going to look for those words. Like if they're looking for detail oriented Python programmer, they're going to look for resumes that have words like that on there. It's going to have Python on the resume. It's going to have programmer on there. And if it has detail oriented, it's going to move it to the top of the list, right? Because it's got all those words. So use the same wording on your resume as the job description on the jobs you're looking to apply for. That is a great, great tip, especially in the world of AI, where if your job has a lot of applications, you may never have a human being look at it if the computer didn't approve it first. And the computer is just going to look for words that match what they're trying to find. Experience is key, but you don't have to have a job to have experience. Like for entry level positions, include all your relevant experience. It could be some community service, it could be some volunteer work you did somewhere, some high school clubs or internships, technical certifications, something you've done. Even if you wasn't a job that you got paid for, it can still be relevant experience. And oh, here's a real big one. Save it as a PDF. If you're turning your resume in online, emailing it, uploading it to a website, anything like that, make sure it's a PDF. If you save it as a Word file or a Google Doc or something like that, and you send it to someone else and they open it up on their computer, it could end up totally looking different. The margins may be skewed. Your text size may be different on their computer and the way that it interprets that. So maybe lines are all messed up. Your pictures may be overlapping text. There may be all kinds of problems. So absolutely, anytime you're electronically turning in a resume, make sure you save it as a PDF and turn in the PDF version, because that will make sure it looks exactly the same as it does when you save it. It won't get all mixed up. So that's a real good clue right there. Employability skills. This applies to nearly every job. Communication. Doesn't matter if you're a programmer or anything else. One of the most difficult and most essential skills in programming is communication. You'll often find yourself needing to explain complex technical ideas to non-programmers. Like your boss may very well not be a programmer. Clients, co-workers, even friends. So here's some tips to help you describe your brilliant solutions to audience of all ages. First of all, have empathy. Not being able to understand something can be frustrating. So know your audience might be feeling this way and be patient if they don't get it right away. You're trying to explain what this program does and here's what this code does. And I included this line in here that makes it do that. And they've got that deer in the headlights look. That means stop, back up, understand that they're not all computer nerdy like you are. So you're not even speaking a language they understand. Have empathy. Focus on outcomes. So your audience may not know a function from a flashlight. So to tell them how it works, tell them how their lives will make it easier. Hey, this function will cut your data entry time in half. Not the fact that, oh, this function has this code built into it that allows it to do this and this. No, just say this will make it much quicker and easier for you to enter information. And avoid text speech. Boy, there's lots of careers, programming and otherwise, that have specific words that you use all the time that are not commonly known to other people. If you start saying algorithm and Boolean and API, people are going to be lost right there and they're going to stop listening because they don't understand what you're saying. You might as well speak in another language. Try to use non-technical description. This API allows our software to talk with that website so we can use and analyze its data. Okay, that I can kind of understand. Not saying it uses Boolean conditions to check to see if this condition is true or that condition is true or this condition is true, so that way it knows whether or not it needs to access and pull it. No, don't do all of that. Avoid text speech. All right, page 3. Programming types. On a movie set, you find actors, directors, the camera operator, the sound specialist, the person who snaps the clapboard. Action. But sometimes the director will also act in a film, or the same person will be both the camera and the sound specialist. The bottom line, it's good to be well-rounded, whether you work on a movie or as a programmer or any other industry. In programming, this often means being fluent in multiple coding languages and being familiar with front-end and back-end development. Front-end is development of the features that the user interacts with. Back end is all that stuff that happens that allows the software to run correctly in the back, the infrastructure. So being well-rounded means if the coworker you have in the next room or at the next desk or standing next to you needs to break away. Hey, I need to go take care of this for 10 minutes. The boss called. This is a priority. You need to be able to step over and make sure their stuff is still running as well, too. If you only know your job and not how to be well-rounded enough to be able to keep other jobs going when you need to step in, that's going to be a problem. So whether it's programming or anything else, you got to kind of learn the other jobs of the people around you so you can help out when they get behind or there's an emergency or something happens where they're absent and they need someone to do that. It's being able to be flexible. So let's compare front-end development to back-end development. So the front end of the program is the part the user can see and interact with. The screen, the menus, the inputs. They write code needed to determine the design, what they see, the functionality, the fonts, the menus, the transitions, the contact forms, all of that. If you want to listen to music, for example, you log into a streaming service and you interact with its front end to choose the artist, choose the album, choose the genre, choose the song. That's all stuff that's front end development, allows you to be able to interact with the website. The back end development, this describes the technology and the infrastructure needed to run the program and make it useful. This includes working with the servers and the databases. The backend developers write the code that allows programs to store and manipulate information. So, for example, on that streaming service, when you've logged in and chosen something, the backend saves and stores all those artists, those albums, those genres in a database. It's able to sort, retrieve that information, bring it in so you can play it. Every time you log on, your favorites will load automatically. That's all the back end stuff that the user doesn't see. They just know, hey, I want to see stuff by Alana Morris, and they'll choose that. And the back end does all the work to pull up all of that. What is full stack development? When researching programming careers, you might see positions for full stack developers. This is kind of like a jack of all trades. Instead of specializing in any one area, they know a little bit of everything, whether it's front end, back end, or otherwise. So that's someone that can kind of step in and fill in at any job because they know the basics. They may not be experts on all those areas, but they can help out kind of anywhere. All right, Python check. Part of being a well-rounded programmer is being able to solve all type of problems. So can you figure out this one? Here's the situation. You work at an online shop where every customer ID begins with 0000. Every customer. This annoys your boss. He is tired of that. He wants to print the IDs on invoices, but quit putting all those zeros. Just give me the part that's different. Can you write code that prints this ID number but does not print the zeros? Customer ID 0000A7892BN. It's like, oh, if you have that problem, the boss don't want to see those 4 zeros because every account has those 4 zeros. So they're meaningless if they're on every account number. I don't need to see them every time. It's just take up a lot of extra space on my page. I feel that way about my bank account sometimes. What do you think, Vivian?
So, you know that thing that we did with encryption, how you could like slide numbers around? Wouldn't you just use like a similar code to delete the first, what was it, 4 digits?
Yes. Yeah. We did slicing, I think, where we sliced out part of something.
Yeah.
So this would slice out characters 4 through 11. And we don't actually delete them on this code. This is a good way to do it. Here's what the customer ID is. And when we print it, we only print out characters 4 through 11. We don't print out 0, 1, 2, or 3 because those are all zeros for everybody. So if we don't print 0, 1, 2, 3, we just print those. So we haven't deleted them. They're still there if for some reason the computer needs to have those 4 zeros because that's some format it uses. But yeah, we just slice out 4 through 11 since there's, it stops at 11, but there's 11 characters altogether. Perfect. Yeah, we just slice out that. Here you go, boss. Easy done. Coding careers. Where do I go from here? Well, let's review the facts. Programming careers are in high demand. That's a fact. Adding to your coding skills through practice and education will help you become more of a well-rounded programmer. That's a fact. And finally, programming needs exist in a wide variety of industries. Becoming involved and familiar with a variety of industries can help you develop your career. That's a fact. So let's look at this. Engineering. Programmers are a critical part of the engineering process, often develop software to help design and test new products, systems, and technologies. The use of programming development tools can dramatically increase the productivity of engineers by automating the tedious tasks. And lots of jobs have tedious tasks that you can automate that way. Finance. Numbers are everything in finance, and programming tools are necessary to keep the system secure, analyze statistics, track profits and losses. Every business has a finance need. Medical healthcare is a growing field that needs help of programmers. The medical profession often requires programmers to use tools for tracking patient records, testing and analyzing new treatments, or thinking like a programmer during differential diagnosis procedures. Like that's similar to algorithmic problem solving. Marketing, selling products and services is the name of the game, and programmers can help by coding websites, mobile apps, virtual experiences for brands, knowledge of web development tools, including databases and servers that can help you really stand out. Science. Programmers are an important part of the scientific process, whether it's developing programs to analyze experiments or creating real-world models or simulations. And models and simulations help a lot because if you actually build something without being able to fully simulate and test it, you may waste millions of dollars on something that if you had built a model, you would have found the flaws right away. And you can find lots of real-life examples of that. Education. Schools, universities, and businesses are all embracing online learning. Wow, kind of like what we're doing right here. And programmers are needed to create and code productivity tools and interactive learning experiences. So what's next? If you're serious about a career in coding, you're already in the right place. But here's some additional actions you can take to develop your skills so one day you could land that dream coding job. Bonus, these are all things you can add to your resume too. Earn a technical or industry certifications. There are lots of different certifications you can earn in programming, and you can research online for different careers you might want to get into, different programming languages you may know. Is there a certification I can get? I know there's a Python certification, stuff like that. And lots of other jobs that are not programming jobs. There are certifications you can get in many of those cases. Learn another computer programming language. The more languages you know, the better. And of course, once you know the first language, which you know Python, it's easy to learn the second one because you already know the logic. Okay, I need a loop here. So how does this programming language do loops? Because you already know when you're building your code, if you've done like just like a pseudocode to know how the program needs to operate, I just need to know the proper words in this language to do that. Participate in your school's coding or technology club. Practice design skills by building your own website or app. That could be cool. I used to have a website I built years ago when we had our second baby. I built a website and sent a link to family members so they could see that we were announcing that we were pregnant for a second child. Enroll in a variety of high school computer science courses, which you guys have already got a couple at least. So. Use it or lose it. Don't stop practicing. That's the important part. Write some code for the fun of it. I've got Python on my computer at home, and I play around some different programs from time to time. All right, that is it. Let's look at the 5-question quiz we have this week. Which the following does a front-end developer? You may get the back-end question. It just chooses random questions here. What kind of tools programmers develop to help financial specialists? During an interview, the a potential employer may ask the programmer to explain how a program works. Why might they ask this program? Which option best explains this code? What's the best way to explain that code? And suppose you're interested in finding a job as a software engineer at a tech company. Which experience would be most helpful for finding your desired position on that? There we go. Just the 5-question quiz this week. And a lot of this is really good, even if you don't want to be a programmer, because, not everybody's going to be programmers take this class. We're just taking this class because it's interesting. We need the credits. But yeah, a lot of this really is good tips for anything. And I think especially looking to see what they need, what certifications are out there on the job postings now for the positions you're interested in. And I love that using the same words that's in their job description. You can work those into your resume in a relevant way, because I think there is lots of AI screening for jobs nowadays, because it's getting easier and easier to do that. And they can just upload this file that has 500 resumes and say, pick out, the ones that have the relevant experience for this job. And it'll sort it out and say, hey, you just need to look at these 12. And it's like, okay, they'll look at the 12. So AI would be looking specifically for those keywords that are part of the job description. So that's a good tip, because that'll be a big thing your whole life there, using AI to sort through job applicants. So, all right, ladies, well, have a great week. If I see you again, great. If I don't, I'll catch you next week.